Passed away. Welcome back to Brass Tacks. There's been a massive crackdown on the Popular Front of India. Across more than a dozen states, there have been raids in which over 100 PFI activists, including its chairman, national president, national secretary, all have been arrested. In fact, 18 of them were produced in a court in Delhi, which has remanded them to 4 days NIA custody for an organization that's allegedly been involved in nefarious activities. And this is what the NIA has told the court today, in activities including terror funding, terror training camps, and radicalizing people. This is the biggest ever crackdown seen in the last 20 years. Is this the central government and the agencies laying the groundwork now for an all-India ban on the PFI?
A midnight raid turned into the biggest crackdown on Popular Front of India. A multi-agency operation was led by the National Investigation Agency. The raids were carried out in 15 states. Nearly 100 locations were searched by the agencies. And over 100 top PFI leaders and functionaries have been arrested.
You can see these officers over here. You can see that those are the materials which have been seized. The other teams over here, there are many electronic gadgets, printers, laptops, which have been seized from these premises.
The raids were conducted on suspicions of PFI's involvement in organizing terror camps and encouraging youth to participate in terror activities.
This is Chandrayan Gutta, and this is where the PFI's main office is located, sealed and locked. And along with it, there's a notice here which has been pasted. PFI activist by the name Abdul Qadir was picked up by the National Investigation Agency for giving terror training to more than 200 people.
But in some states, PFI members held protest against the arrest.
Slogans that are being raised from the PFI supporters here, they are raising continuously slogans saying there's nothing, no documents that these officials would have found. This is an unnecessarily raid that has been conducted.
From an alleged role in violence in Uttar Pradesh during the anti-CAA protests in 2020 to the alleged links to terrorism, PFI has been under the government scanner for a while now. In fact, the NIA has termed the outfit as a threat to the national security. But after today's crackdown, will the clamour to ban PFI only grow louder?
All right, I want to go across to our guest. Binay Kumar Singh is an author who's written extensively about the PFI. Karnal Singh is a former director of the Enforcement Directorate. Shatabi Shivarna is an advocate and Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar, joining us. Binay Singh, let me start with you first. This is what the NIA told the court today in Delhi when as many as 18 of the 100 people who were detained today were brought to the court. And this is what the NIA said, that the searches are part of a crackdown against these allegations that the PFI functionaries are facing. Number one, terror funding. Number two, organizing terror training camps. And number three, radicalizing people to join proscribed organizations. This is the justification given by the NIA. Does this add up? As somebody who has tracked the PFI, are its members, including the ones arrested today, are they involved in these three accusations that they face?
Jaka, this is a very timely action. And for that, we must thank our Home Minister that we have proved that there is a zero tolerance policy against terror outfits. And look, Jaka, the important point is that there are two visions of India completing 100 years in 2047. One idea is of the government of India. We want to remove the badge of a developing nation and we want to move into the next league. And the other idea of India 2047 is of PFI. They want to disintegrate, they want to break India and want to convert India into a caliphate state. And look, what we say that PFI is connected to SIMI, it is a false statement. PFI is SIMI. It is a transformation of, with a new name. It is the same wine into a new bottle with a new brand name. And let me give you an example. The tribunal which banned PFI, they have certain observations. that was based on several observations by government of India.
Okay.
So the observations were that many observations, I'm just quoting two, that instigating Muslims on Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid verdict delivered by the Lucknow bench. And that is exactly what the PFI do. What has been mentioned in the banning document of SIMI. You go to their website, they are instigating Muslim youths, they are instigating the Muslim mobs on the Ram Janmabhoomi verdict. And the second is,
so let me ask Atikur Rahman Saab that if here is an organization that is accused of instigating young Muslims, whether it's after the constitutional bench verdict on the Ram Janmabhoomi matter, whether it is one second, I'll come back to you. Whether it's on the Ram Janmabhoomi matter, whether it's on CAA, the Uttar Pradesh police has filed more than 200 cases against members of the PFI for protests that they had instigated in protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act. This is just one state that I'm talking about. As a moderate Indian Muslim, why shouldn't you welcome, sir, the action against this radical organization?
Zakka, I believe the most easiest thing in this world is blaming people, accusing people without any proof, without any, iota of evidence, which the courts will be demanding. Mr. Vinay Singh has just said about something about the Vision 2047 document of the PFI, wherein the seize was there by some policing in some states, and they captured some documents, and the PFI gave a clarification that 2047 document of theirs is very much evident on their website. Which document will you believe in? The security forces?
No, leave the document aside. Are you, Atikur Rahman Saab, are you saying that this organization, various members of this organization, in the state of Kerala alone, they have 27 cases against different PFI functionaries? In the state of Karnataka, there are 33. Why should average Indian moderate Muslim bat for such an extremist organization? It's a simple question.
The least I would say is the Constitution of India gives ample powers to the citizens of the state against the state. The state is not empowered to vilify the citizens. The least I would say, Zakka, because herein the state is having accusations without evidence.
Oh, no. Whether that evidence holds up or not is for a court to decide. But let me ask Karnal Singh, please respond. One of the arguments that's being put forth by people like Atikur Rahman is, A, on what basis have you made these arrests? Why this almost stealth by night kind of operation? And B, most importantly, do you have anything at all against this organization and against the members of this organization?
Number one, I do not consider it to be related to a religion. It is basically internal security issue. There are evidences against this particular organization, that is PFI, of indulging into radicalization, terror financing, and let me give you an example. The Indian Mujahideen started with the radicalization of some of the youth.
Yeah.
And then it was taken advantage of by terrorist organization like Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, etc. And that led to a large number of explosions in the country. So we are concerned about the internal security of the country. Radicalization can be misused, can be taken advantage by the enemies, by the foreign terrorist organizations. So we should look at it only at the national security issue rather than the communal issue. It is not communal issue.
Okay.
And it is very serious. And this organization has spread into 24 states in the country. And therefore, a nationwide strike by the investigating agencies was required to, at the same time, find out what are the evidences against them, though they have already collected a large number of evidences, which they would be producing in the court. When taking them on remand, those evidences are discussed before the court. It is not that the court is just on the basis of that the NIA or ED says that the remand should be given, court will give remand. Court asks questions.
Okay.
Court asks what are the evidences
Let me ask
available.
Shatabi Shivanna, yes, of course, as Colonel Singh says, the evidence has to be presented in court. A court has to come to a conclusion on whether that evidence holds up, and on the basis of that, there will be conviction or otherwise. But let me take you back to as far back as 2012 about the antecedents of this group, the PFI. In an affidavit submitted by the Kerala government, and mind you, this was not a BJP government or even a left government at that time, this is 2012, a Congress government had said that the PFI is accused repeatedly in multiple cases of murder, rioting, intimidation, and having links with terrorist organizations. This was 10 years ago. Why should such an organization be continued to give such a long rope?
One thing is about the legal framework. Now there's an organization, and there are certain members or office bearers of this organization who may be or may not be indulging in questionable activities or making questionable remarks. If there is an allegation that the members of a certain community or a certain organization are making questionable remarks or carrying out questionable actions, then definitely the law enforcement agencies should take action against them. But can you completely rule out or ban the organization is something that we need to ponder upon in the legal frameworks. I don't think that is possible. But secondly, yes, there are multiple allegations against the PFI throughout the state, and a lot of people, including the CLP leader in Karnataka, Shri Siddaramaiah, in 2020 had asked for a complete ban on PFI if there are if there are requisite allegations made against them. So I welcome the strategy of the Home Ministry and the NIA in conducting these raids and making these arrests, but also I bear in mind, is this selective targeting? There are radicals on either side, and it shouldn't be pertaining to one religion or to an organization. If there is ample amount of evidence against the PFI, we welcome the Union Ministry's actions in taking action against them. But there shouldn't be selective targeting is my only response.
Binay Singh, please respond, because this was an argument put forth in the previous show as well, that there is an equivalence, or at least a false equivalence being sought to be drawn. You are going after people, extremists of one religion, but a Yati Narsingh Anand is still roaming scot-free. No one's going after him. Why? Isn't that selective targeting?
Jaka, let me make it clear. This is not a matter of Hindu versus Muslim or targeting a religion. Because PFI is an organization, it doesn't represent the Muslim of this country. It is a fringe group, radicalizing or targeting people. And again, Jaka, PFI is a terror outfit, and it is not normal. It has a next generation modus operandi. It works on a 3D and 3T format. The 3D format is democracy demolition design, which is done through talent training and target. And it is a 100% Swadeshi format of terror having international links. This is a new kind of modus operandi, Jaka, and I am sure that it was a long pending demand to ban PFI, and the action on the raids, the massive raids on PFI, they are backed by
Okay, I've lost that audio with Binay. But let me ask Atikur Rahman Saab. This is the moot point. Again, I'm not understanding why moderate Indian Muslims like yourself should want to defend an extremist organization like the PFI.
Zakka, no moderate Muslim will be either supporting the PFI or the likes of the PFI, because if zero tolerance is the policy and nation first is the policy, can't you see the contradiction? Just now, an honorable panelist mentioned 10 years before the charges were there. 10 years and zero tolerance and nation first. Look at the contradiction. We want people to realize that if zero tolerance is the policy of the government of India, 10 years time they will be taking against any organization which is radicalizing its people without any religion.
Okay.
No,
Karnal Singh,
this is not
I'll give Karnal
acceptable.
Singh the final word. I think that there is a valid point there. Many have been asking for a ban on the PFI. I know it's not entirely the job of the agencies. Ultimately, it's the call that the government has to take. Why has the PFI not been banned? And do you believe today's actions are laying the groundwork for a nationwide ban of the PFI?
See, banning any organization under Prevention of Unlawful Activities Act also requires that it would be scrutinized by the advisory board, and therefore enough evidences are to be there against the organization. It is not only the cases of murder, cases of extortion. They are sufficient under Prevention of Unlawful Activities Act. The evidences of terror financing, evidences of radicalizations are required, and now the NIA and the Enforcement Directorate and local police, they have gathered evidences. And with those evidences, they would certainly be moving the Home Ministry for getting the ban on against the PFI.
Okay, so a case needs to be made for banning an organization, and more importantly, these cases that will come up in the court has to be decided on basis of evidence that's been collected by the NIA against these members of the PFI and their alleged activities. But we'll leave it at that. We'll see how the story plays out. That's a wrap of Brass Tacks. In a moment, Maria Shakil joining you with News Epicenter.